How's it going, guys? Barokoshama here with a new weekly video covering the recent changes that are hitting the realms once they restart tomorrow morning, or I guess this morning, because the video is going to be coming out on the Tuesday that these changes become live. But I wanted to talk about them because they're pretty freaking awesome. There's a lot of tuning changes all in PvP, balancing changes for various classes. We have raid tuning and changes for Castle Nathria, as well as some dungeon changes as well for Mythic Plus. So we're first going to start with the Mythic Plus changes. Let's get into it. Okie dokie. So first things first, we're going to see the other side. Mythic Keystone timer increased to 43 minutes, was 41 minutes. This is actually really huge because I know that a lot of groups are actually struggling with the other side on many of the weeks that are not certainly bad push weeks, but aren't the best push weeks. And the other side seems to be one of those dungeons where if it's not a really good setup for the affixes for that week, it's kind of a lot harder to do unless you have a really good route and you have a lot of really good competent people in the group. So adding 2 minutes to the timer is quite nice. I really like that change. It's a long dungeon. Hakar, Son of Hakar, melee damage reduced by 50%. This is good because these guys kind of truck the people that they fixate on. If you don't have CC available for them, it's good to have that reduction in the melee. And Blood Nova damage reduced by 20%. Also a good change. Dealer Zayexa, Arcane Lightning damage reduced by 25%. This boss, the longer it went on, obviously became a lot more healing intensive. And this is a good change because if you aren't melee stacked and you have to communicate in your group a lot of the juggling of the Arcane Lightning, it can get really hectic, and some people may get extra stacks when they don't want to. So reducing the damage of this ability is quite nice. Necrotic Wake, Nalthor the Rime Binder. Champion's Boon, duration increased to 30 seconds, was 15 seconds. Now, Champion's Boon. So the Gilded Champion bestows their blessing upon the hero that saved them, increasing critical strike chance by 100% for 15 seconds. So increasing this to 30 seconds is really good, because sometimes you don't want to use your cooldowns if they're coming up until the Dark Exile comes out. So having like an extra 15 seconds on the boon is good, because you're not necessarily going to be always able to take advantage of the buff as soon as you come back up, due to Comet Storm timing sometimes happening at the same time that you are coming up from the Dark Exile. So it's really good. This Comet Storm, not this one, but this Comet Storm timing was sometimes happening when players came up from the Gauntlet. So it's nice to see that they added a longer duration to the damage buff that you got from Dark Exile. So that's good. That's a good change. Now, Spires of Ascension. Ventanax. Dark Stride duration decreased to 15 seconds, was 20 seconds. So this is from Dark Stride. Moving to incredible speed, Ventanax appears behind a player to inflict damage every second for 20 seconds. This dot did so much damage, especially on tyrannical weeks, but even on fortified weeks. Like the dot that I left behind, if you weren't a mage or you didn't have a paladin in your group and you didn't have cooldowns available, like back to back like damage reductions, this thing would kill a lot of people. So reducing its duration by 5 seconds, I feel, is a really good change. So well done to that, Blizzard. I like how many dungeon tunings they're doing. It's really nice. Zav the Unfallen, health reduced by 10%. I can appreciate the health nerf on this guy, because the majority of the fight, you actually do not have all 5 players up on the platform hitting the boss. A lot of the time, 2 of the players are down below and dueling it out, and sometimes these duels last longer if you have smooth brain DPS that want to outplay the other player and use all their cooldowns, which is ridiculous, but it happens sometimes. Like defensive cooldowns, not offensive. Like I've seen mages ice block in a duel. It's really funny. Or like paladins bop. It's really funny. So The health reduction is just going to speed this boss fight along. Sometimes this boss takes a while, especially if your routing doesn't give you a prideful before this boss. It's going to take a very long time. So the health reduction is welcome. I like it. Upcoming Castle Nathria changes. Glyph of Destruction, damage reduced by 20%, depending on the group size on Raid Finder, Normal, and Heroic difficulties. Withering Touch, damage reduced by 20%, depending on the group size of Raid Finder, Normal, and Heroic difficulty. A lot of these changes are actually going to be for Raid Finder, Normal, and Heroic difficulties. You're going to see that pattern here, and this is just going to help pugging your raids a lot easier. Obviously, if there's a lot less damage coming out, debuffs are lasting a lot less time, I guess. I don't know. Debuffs are lasting a little less. So a lot less damage is going to be coming out in your pug raids with these changes. And that's good, because pugs are the backbone of the raiding community, right? That's the backbone. Sun King Salvation. Soul Infusers, Vile Oculus, Bleakwing Assassins, Pestering Fiends, Rockbound Vanquishers. Health reduced by 10% on Raid Finder, Normal, and Heroic difficulties. Sun King Salvation, I know some pugs have had some difficulties with that fight, so that's good. That's good. Lady Nerva Dark, a lot of changes from Lady Nerva. Darkfiend now throws fewer bottles for smaller raid sizes. Scaling from 1 to 3 was 2 to 3 on normal difficulty, and scaling from 2 to 4 was 3 to 4 on Heroic difficulty. Also good change there. Anima Web now does up to 20% less damage for raids with fewer than 30 players on Normal and Heroic difficulties. Also good change. Shared Suffering now does up to 20% less damage for raids with 10 players on Normal and Heroic difficulties. And Base Health on Conjured Manifestations and Harnessed Specters is now lower for raids with fewer than 30 players on Normal, Heroic, raid difficulties. Very good. This is a good change. Sludge Fist. Fix an issue that caused Chain Slam's damage to not scale correctly with group size on Heroic difficulty. Chain Slam damage reduced by up to 35% depending on group size on Heroic difficulty. Colossal Roar damage reduced by up to 20% depending on the group size on Raid Finder, Normal, and Heroic difficulties. Obviously, you guys are seeing a pattern here. A lot of changes for the pug scene, for the Normal and Heroic, even the guilds that are progging on Heroic still. Right? These are going to be really good changes to help them get down these bosses. Stone Legion Generals. I'm excited about these. So, overall damage scaling updated, with damage having been decreased by 25% for 10-player raids and increased by 10% for 30-player raids on Raid Finder and Normal difficulties. Overall damage scaling updated, with damage having been decreased by 33% for 10-player raids and increased by 17% for 30-player raids on Heroic difficulties. Okay. Stone Legion Goliath health decreased by 11.1% on Mythic difficulty. Stone Legion's Skirmishers health decreased by 10% on Mythic difficulty. These changes are quite massive, especially for Phase 1 of the Mythic encounter. My guild is progressing on Stone Legion now, and so these changes are definitely going to help us clean up the Skirmishers a lot better, and the Goliaths during the Phase 1 and intermission phase. So I like this a lot. These are good changes. Heartrend now targets 1 to 3 players, scaling up from 10 to 30 players. Raid sizes on Heroic difficulty. 1 to 3 players instead of the 2. Constantly 2, up to 3 players depending on the raid size. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. Players are probably going to have to deal with it a lot, like the... what does she do? Impale. So she does her little impale. She picks random players. Usually it's 3 to 4 players. So it'll be a lot like that. Obviously, you're going to have to have your DBM or your bigwigs enabled a lot more now, because it could be up to 3 players depending on the raid size. Seismic Upheaval now targets 4 to 10 players, scaling from 10 to 30 player raid sizes on Normal and Heroic difficulties. Seismic So these are like the earth spikes that come up under people's feet. So this is scaling from targeting 3 or 4 to 10 players depending on the raid size. So that's a lot more of those earthen pillars that come up from the ground depending on your raid size. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that's going to affect Even like my heroic pugs that I do weekly. Seismic Upheaval now targets 3 to 5 players on Raid Finder difficulty. Wicked Laceration damage now scales with the number of players on normal and heroic difficulties. Okay, interesting. And then finally, the Sergeant Athreus, which is a really good change as well, because not a lot of people think about the Cabalists as being a problem. But the Crimson Cabalist health reduced by up to 10% depending on group size on Raid Finder normal and heroic difficulties. A lot of groups will get to Sergeant Athreus and start downsizing their group. So you may even see this even more relevant of a thing where players are downsizing, and it's going to be a lot more effective. Or like raid leaders are downsizing the group so that they can push past the phase 2 and get into phase 3, because sometimes a lot of groups will kill the Crimson Cabalists, but like it's bad timing and like people are getting pulled into the boss, and then the Crimson Cabalist sends out these little droplets also that go on the ground where players' feet are, and if you get gripped in and then also sent off the platform because of these little droplets that the Crimson Cabalist left behind, that's unfortunate. Additionally, with a hotfix that is now live, Naja's familiar predicaments. Wow, I am okay. Will no longer unintentionally reduce the duration of Dancing Fever. Okay, and now some really juicy PvP changes. These are very cool. So Death Knights, Unholy. Necrotic Strike now absorbs up to 6% of the health of the target's health. Was 4. And Virulent Plague and Virulent Eruption are no longer reduced by 10% when engaged in combat with enemy players. So we may see a lot more Unholy DKs with these changes. Maybe not. Frost is still really, really strong in 3v3s. But we may see more Unholy play. Over to Hunter. Marksman. Careful aim now deals 35% bonus damage when engaged in combat with enemy player. Was 20%. Okay, a buff to Marksman. I didn't think that they needed it. They were already really strong. Beast Mastery. Bestial Wrath's effectiveness is no longer reduced by 20% when engaged in combat with enemy players. So Bestial Wrath is kind of like not played at all in PvP right now. Marksman Hunter is superior in almost every way. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think that this will be enough to bring Beast Mastery into 3v3, but we'll see. I'm sure some people are going to try it out. Mage. Dampen Magic reduces magical damage over time effects by 10%. Was 20%. Huge nerf to their defensive PvP talent. That's this one right here, by the way. Dampen Magic. Magical damage over time effects deal 20% less damage to you. So you would usually run this against like Shadow Priests, obviously Affliction Warlocks, some Boomkin comps as well. Glacial Spike for Frost. No longer reduced by 20% when engaging combat with enemy players. And Ray of Frost is no longer reduced by 15% when engaging in combat with enemy players. Venruki, I think, is going to really like these changes, man, because he's been trying out Frost in arenas, and I think he's been having fun with it. Maybe like Frost Survival or Frost Beastmaster or something, like memeing it out. And he was having a lot of fun. But the Pyrokinesis nerf is quite substantial. So Pyrokinesis is our pretty much go-to fire PvP talent. So your Fireball reduces the cooldown of your combustion by 5 seconds. And now that's getting reduced to 3 seconds instead of 5 seconds. So obviously, outside of our combustion windows for Fire Mage, you would actually just be spamming fireballs and Pauline on cooldown to kind of like peel for your team, disrupt the enemy team, and then just buy time for your next combustion window. And some players were running like Kindling with this and like Firestarter and like Tinder and shit. And they were getting their combustion down to like 45 seconds. So the nerf on Pyrokinesis is going to be very, very noticeable, I feel. So that'll be interesting. I'm probably just going to swap from doing arenas on my mage to doing RBGs. So, okay, Monk. Mistweaver. Chrysalis PvP talent reduced the life cocoon's cooldown by 40 seconds, was 25 seconds. So that is a huge buff to Mistweaver. Mana regeneration increased by 20% when engaged in combat with enemy players. We may see Mistweavers coming back now in the arena. I don't know if these will be enough. I've seen maybe like 3 Mistweavers all season in arenas on both my Shaman and my Fire Mage, and it's just, they're not common at all. So maybe more people will try it out with these life cocoon changes and mana regen. And speaking of mana regen changes, Holy Paladin received a huge mana regeneration nerf by 30% when engaged in combat with enemy players. Not only that, but damage transferred through Ultimate Sacrifice is no longer affected by Blessing of Sacrifice rank 2. So damage transferred rank 2 reduces the damage you take from Blessing of Sacrifice by 25%, taking 30% of damage taken by target ally. I'm not exactly sure what this means. I know it's a nerf. They'll just be taking full damage probably from the Ultimate Sacrifice, which means you could probably kill somebody. You could probably kill, you could probably kill a paladin in the game. If they use Ultimate Sacrifice and not Bubble. So that'd be interesting. That's an interesting one. But anyway, guys, that's all the stuff that's happening. Wait, let me double check. Any new changes that are just haven't been announced yet? Nope. None. So that's all the new stuff that's coming out this week on live servers come today, I guess, when the video is released. I hope you like the video. I want to get more stuff out like this, talking about the changes, my thoughts on them. As I pretty much dabble in everything now when it comes to all the aspects of World of Warcraft, PvE, PvP. Not RP, though. I don't know, maybe someday. But like the video if you like it. Subscribe for more Shadowlands content in the future. My name is Barokoshama. You can catch me on my Twitch live stream, twitch.tv/Barokoshama. You can also support my content if you want on my Patreon page, and check out my Twitter. Follow me there if you want to see updates on what's going on my social medias. I'll be leaving the link to all of that good stuff down below. You can also check out my merchandise at Barokoshama fan fiverr page, or my website, onlyshams.com. I got a lot of stuff that you guys can check out. Everything will be in the description down below. I hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday and Wednesday reset for you EU gents out there, gents and ladies. And until next time, keep calm and Maelstrom on. Bye-bye.